I often have periods of time in which I will listen to the same album over and over and over again. At more than one point, the album on constant repeat has been the soundtrack to the musical Hamilton. One of the songs presents the Revolutionary War Battle of Yorktown. In the narrative, after the British surrender and are being escorted out of Yorktown, they sing, "The world's turned upside down." They couldn't imagine how it was possible they had been defeated. The world's turned upside down. Tonight is a night where the world has been turned upside down. Mothers shouldn't stand by and watch their sons die. Kings don't get dragged in front of someone and belittled, beaten, and scourged. God incarnate Emmanuel, counted among transgressors, the world has been turned upside down. If we're honest about it, though, perhaps the world was already a bit topsy-turvy. Perhaps it's precisely when the world feels like it's upside down that we most need to draw near to the cross. When we look around our world today, there is so much that is upside down. It's hard to hear the words of Jesus who proclaimed, "I have come to bring release to the captives and good news to the poor," when we see that seems not to be true around us. And so today, we gather at the foot of the cross, begging, praying, knowing that God is turning the world upside down. As Jesus hangs on the cross, he cries out with part of Psalm 22, my God, why have thou forsaken me?" As one of my friends noted earlier in our Hartford Stations of the Cross, this is not a cry of despair, because if you read the entire psalm, this is a cry of trust and faith in God. When it seemed like everything was lost, when it seemed like Jesus' life was pointless, he cried out in trust to God. When his disciples stood gazing from a distance, wondering, "Are we next?" he cried out and showed them to keep their trust and belief in God. Is your world upside down today, and perhaps in need of being righted by the cross? It is upside down that we call today Good Friday. How is it good that Jesus was tortured and died such a horrendous death? Now, I don't believe the goodness in this day is because God needed to fulfill some kind of sin blood offering. No. The goodness of today is because in the moment of despair, we see most clearly the fullness of God's love. We see most clearly that God's love is not reserved for those who are high and mighty, but is particularly for those who have to cry out, my God, where are you?" We call today good because we know that as we draw to the foot of the cross, we are not coming as those who have no hope. We come able to fully let ourselves feel the horror of this moment. We come not rushing to the joy of Easter, but lingering by the tomb. For we know that we have a great high priest who is able to sympathize with our weakness. We know that Jesus walked among us. We know that Jesus lived his life and showed us the way of love. So we can run the race that is set before us. We can approach the cross with hope, even in the midst of the topsy-turvy of our lives. At the cross, perhaps the cross is the exact place where the upside-downness of the world meets the righting power of God's love. My friends, the world has been turned upside down for a long time, and it will continue to be topsy-turvy. But tonight, we come to the cross confessing our faith that at the foot of the cross, Jesus' death opens the path for us to see the world in a different way. Yes, we still see the upside downness of it, but we know that that's not the whole story. We know that the cross tells us that even in the midst of such despair, there is connection, there is love. As Jesus hung on the cross, he looked at his grieving mother, and he looked at the disciple who he loved and commended them to each other. Even in those moments of despair, Jesus showed us that connection and love is always possible. At the cross, we gather, bringing the upside downness of our lives, bringing those places of pain, those places of separation, those places where it feels like death will have the last word. And we don't shy away from it. We look at those places with full hearts. We look at those places allowing the tears to flow. We look at those places allowing the full brokenness of our heart to set in on us. But we don't despair. Jesus, who hung on the cross, shows us that even in the midst of the most difficult of circumstances, when we draw near to the cross, we draw near to God's love that connects us one to another and gives us the strength we need to face whatever may come. When we gather at the foot of the cross, we gather with each other, knowing that together we can, in one way or another, little by little, take the power of the cross into our lives and do whatever we can to just right the world just a little bit more. But tonight, we let ourselves cry. Tonight, we let ourselves feel. Tonight, we let the confusion of some of the Holy Week services fill our hearts. We let the disruption of this time take us. Tonight, we gather together at the foot of the cross and stand in silence and prayer. Jesus Christ, Son of the living God, we pray you to set your passion, cross, and death between your judgment and our souls, now and in the hour of our death. Amen.